Senior Vice President and Business Banking Sales Manager with U.S. Bank. Please give her a big round of applause.
Good morning. My name is Susie Kuhn, Business Banking Sales Manager at U.S. Bank, and I'm honored to welcome you all this morning to this exciting event hosted by our amazing partners, the Portland Metro Chamber. I'm also proud to say I am a Portland Leadership alum. This is a great leadership program that the Chamber offers each year, and if you're not aware of it, I highly recommend that you look into it. So at U.S. Bank, we're very proud of the role and the commitment that we have to this very special community we call home, beginning with the name U.S. Bank, which comes from the United States Bank of Portland that opened its doors in 1891. To our 3,000 plus employees, 64 branches, the largest branch footprint in the Portland metro area. We have an ongoing financial commitment to the nonprofits that support our community. We've given more than $5 million locally to nonprofits just in 2023 alone. Portland and the surrounding communities are central to the past, the present, and the future of U.S. Bank, and we take great pride in that. And the candidates that we'll hear from today certainly share that commitment too. And we're excited to hear how each plans to continue to make this wonderful place to live, work, and play. As a longtime member of the Portland Metro Chamber and a sponsor for this event, we're very appreciative to have this opportunity here today. We at U.S. Bank look forward to growing and learning together with our fellow Portlanders by hearing from these mayoral candidates. Thank you, and let's have a great debate.
Thank you so much to Susie and to the whole U.S. Bank team. In just a moment, you're going to hear from three formidable candidates, and each offering their perspectives on the role of Portland's next mayor. So our aim today is to gain a deeper understanding of their visions in addressing the pressing community issues and their commitments to serving the diverse needs of our beloved city. I want to just add for all of you, running for office today is not a choice that is easy for people to make. We don't make it easy as a community. And we have to acknowledge that when someone chooses to run for a public office, that it involves their families, it involves their community, and it involves a lot of hard work. And so no matter your perspective on which candidates would be best, I think we owe it to each of the candidates that are here with us today to thank them for running and acknowledge them and give them a big round of applause for their efforts. We are very fortunate today to have a partner in Coin 6 News, and more specifically in Ken Bodie. If you don't watch the news here, you should, number one. And number two, if you don't know Ken's work, it is always excellent. It really represents in a very fair way and gives the opportunity for our candidates that join us on this stage to express their perspectives. And so we're lucky to have Ken moderating today's debate. So with that, I'd like us all to please welcome Ken Bodie to the stage.
Thank you, Andrew. My pleasure to be here to moderate this debate between three of the candidates for Portland mayor. Is Rene Gonzalez here? I understand that he was running late, and he should be arriving any moment now. Any moment, according to his guy here. So before I introduce everyone, we will go through the debate rules. Candidates will have 1 minute for opening statements. Then we'll run through 7 questions. The candidates have not been given the questions ahead of time, but we have informed them of what the topics will be. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. We have randomly pre-selected the order of candidate responses. We'll rotate through that order with each question, and finally, we'll conclude with 1 minute closing statements. And I see Mr. Gonzalez has arrived. So with that said, I will introduce our candidates and bring them up to the stage. First of all, Portland City Commissioner Carmen Rubio. Portland City Commissioner Renee Gonzalez. And Keith Wilson, President and CEO of Titan Freight Systems. Thank you all, and again, to reiterate what Mr. Holm has said, thank you for stepping out to run for mayor of Portland. We will begin with opening statements, and you will have 2 minutes for that. So we'll begin with Mr. Keith Wilson.
To be clear, 2 minutes or 1 minute?
That will be, you're right, 1 minute.
Because I can talk for 2 minutes, I will tell you that right now. Well, good morning, everybody. What a wonderful room to the Portland Metro Chamber. What a great opportunity that we have here to really kick off the campaign, which really just began this week. Let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Keith Wilson, and I'm running for mayor to deliver real change for Portland. We can't accept more failures from the same city politicians that got us into this mess. As a candidate from the private sector, what makes me unique is that I have a proven plan to end unsheltered homelessness in my first year as mayor. I know this is a bold statement, and I'm making it because I have done the research. I've gathered the team. I founded a successful shelter, and I created a roadmap for our city. I'm the candidate who has the executive experience that the new mayor's role will require to lead this project successfully. And when we accomplish this, we would decrease crime, supercharge job opportunities and economic improvement, and this will result in better livability for all of us. We cannot accept the status quo of the failed leaders that got us into this situation. Portland has become a national symbol of failed policy, and I'm here to express to you, it's time for real change. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Good morning, and thank you for hosting candidates to the chamber. My name is Renee Gonzalez. I'm a Portland City Commissioner. I'm a fifth-generation Portlander, lifelong Democrat, and proud father of 3. 2 years ago, I left the private sector to confront the most difficult issues on the streets of Portland, and I've been plowing away at those every single day. From homelessness to crime, to resetting our climate and our environment, to centering us on values that center parents, families, seniors aging in place, small businesses, and those who create jobs. I fought that fight every single day at City Hall. I look forward to leading this city as we emerge from the pandemic, as we define what a Western city looks like in a new post-pandemic world. So look forward to the dialogue today, and giddy up. Thank you.
Ms. Rubio.
Thank you, and thank you to the Portland Metro Chamber and my fellow candidates. I assume that some of you are probably thinking that my opponents are the business candidates, and that somehow I'm not a pro-business candidate because I don't look or sound tough, or because I led a community-based organization. But here's the truth. I'm the only candidate standing on this stage that has actually delivered your priorities, with results that are actually meaningful and even historic, and results that matter to our businesses and to our local economy. And it's my belief that you can trust what your next mayor will do for you based on what she has already done for you. We need a mayor who can move us beyond the divisiveness of this city and who can change our narrative, who can deliver real results, because the status quo is completely unacceptable. So ask yourself, who of us up here has actually gotten things done for you? The only answer to that question is me.
Thank you very much. Now on to question number 1. One of you could be elected Portland's first mayor under its completely new structure, with a city manager and the council being a separate legislative branch. Give us one example of what you consider to be a signature accomplishment that illustrates why you are the best person to lead the city through this drastic transition. And we'll begin this with Mr. Gonzalez.
Very simply, I have been the standard bearer from the moment I worked in the City Hall for public safety and livability. I have changed the dialogue. I haven't wasted time with address every serious issue in the city of Portland. What does that mean practically? I led a unanimous approval of an upward drug ban in the city of Portland. The most progressive city in America, the most progressive city in Oregon, led the state in banning outward drugs. And just this last Sunday, we've seen that those changes with the replacement measure 110 beginning to be enforced, beginning to clean up our streets. By being a standard bearer, I banned the distribution by city outreach workers of tents and tarps. This horrible cycle of enablement that continued on our streets of Portland nonstop. I intervened. That took leadership. That took backbone. That took standing up to the loud voices that have so disrupted our community. It carries over to putting more firefighters on the streets. It carries over to working with our county to put more ambulances on the streets of Portland. Sometimes I had to be loud. Sometimes I had to be an advocate. But I could still cut the deal behind the scenes to show progress. And we have more ambulances on the streets of Portland because of that. But it all starts with an unwavering commitment to safety and livability in the city of Portland, and not letting loud voices distract you from that. Sometimes the standard bearer is ahead of the political consensus. I've been okay with that. Sometimes you lose in the short term, but you're getting the city in the right direction on the long term. So I'm very proud of my record in resetting the dialogue, considering you, your families, your parents, and what the future of the city should look like. Thank you.
Ms. Rubio. Yes.
Oh, is it me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. So just a quick note, I've cut deals and I've built coalitions to get the votes. So just as the side there. My biggest accomplishment that I'm very proud of is my leadership on permit reform. So in order for our city to solve our problems, our city has to work for people. And our notorious fragmented permitting system was keeping us from building housing and doing the developed work that this city needed to succeed. So for more than 2 decades, no one has been successful in changing that system. And part of being a leader is knowing when to make the call. So I stepped in, I fought the entrenched culture, and took on my colleagues, including Commissioner Maps and Commissioner Gonzalez. And I was also very tenacious, and I got it done, unanimously, with a 5-0 vote, and I appreciate the votes of my colleagues. And I thank the Portland Metro Chamber for having my back every single step of the way. And today, we have a consolidated permitting system under one team and under one authority. And I was the one that was able to get that down. And now we have the biggest hurdle behind us. We can now move on to other things that need to happen, such as stabilizing the Bureau funding, also more code cleanup, so that we can get rid of outdated rules. And I'm very pleased to announce today that we are working on a new fast pass permit process for any project that shows us at the city that their financial stack is in place and ready to go. And this is good for all levels of housing development, from affordable all the way to market rate. So as a mayor, I'll ensure that this work happens with urgency and also fight those same fights, taking on the culture of inaction to get our government working to serve people again.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. So the singular largest accomplishment. Last year in the Oregon legislature, I was the chief petitioner for House Bill 3590. Black carbon is the single largest contributor to local warming. The 2 largest contributors to black carbon are petroleum diesel and the burning of wood waste in our clear cuts outside of Portland. I don't use a single gallon of fossil fuels in my Portland fleet. That's an accomplishment, but that's not the one I'm here to talk about. When we burn wood waste on our landings outside of Portland, it does 2 things. It creates tremendous amount of respiratory disease for all of us. And second, it coats our mountain, Mount Hood, if you will. We've lost 50% of our glaciers in the last 100 years, creating chronic drought throughout Oregon that's affecting all of us. And it's a canary in the coal mine that we have to address now. So, working with the European Union Biofuels Research Lab, the Oregon Department of Forestry, Oregon State University's College of Forestry, and the DEQ, I worked with technology in Europe that's at a beginning stage, passed a bill here to fund this revolutionary research. We now have a prototype at Oregon State University in process. And what we do is we take wood waste, instead of burning it, and we convert it into diesel. This is going to be revolutionary for Oregon because we are the largest timber producing state in the union. If we can stop burning our wood waste and turn it into a high value commodity, we do two things. We really care for all Portlanders, but then we supercharge economic growth in our disinvested timber communities that have been left behind. We build up the urban environment and we build up the rural environment. This bill passed with the support of Chair Marsh, who's the chair of the Energy, and with Chair Helm, who's in charge of water, unanimously. Bipartisan,
Time, Mr. Wilson.
all Republicans and Democrats. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Question number 2. It's well established that the city of Portland and the entire state of Oregon are in an extreme housing shortage. Portland needs to produce approximately 45,000 units by 2030 just to meet the current and projected demand up until that point. Yet the city currently has only about 500 units in the permitting pipeline. The 2024 State of the Economy report found that the cost of housing and taxes are the primary drivers of Portland's growing lack of affordability. The cost of housing in Portland, 30% above the national average. As Portland's next mayor, what is your plan to supercharge Portland's housing development? And we start this with Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you. First, I want to acknowledge and appreciate my colleagues who voted on all of my housing agenda. No one else on the stage, nor any commissioner in recent memory, has done more to catalyze housing development. In the matter of months, I passed numerous pieces of legislation, including a large package of code deregulation, informed by many of you in this room, and changes to reduce the cost of office-to-housing conversion in our downtown core. I also expanded the property tax incentives to spur more market rate housing with affordable units. And I didn't forget about affordable home ownership, because at the end of the day, building wealth in low and middle income families is critical for Portland's future. In partnership with the Home Builders Association, I increased a number of affordable homes eligible for financial incentives from 100 to 500 per year, and we pushed hard on the county to do that. And that's just to name a few of my housing accomplishments. You'll also probably hear from Commissioner Gonzalez that this did not go far enough. But the truth is that he didn't engage or contribute to this work when he had the chance, yet still voted for it. We need more than just complaints and criticisms. We need leaders who will act. So if I'm elected, imagine the opportunity that exists for this groundwork, and with the mayor who will take every opportunity to make forward, bold moves for Portland. More things like catalytic developments in OMSI and Montgomery Park, in downtown conversions, and the fast pass permitting process that I talked about earlier. More unnecessary regulation and code cleanup across all our bureaus, and looking closely at system development reform. My point is that we need a mayor who's already done their homework and can hit the ground running, and from day one, and tackle this housing crisis. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. So in Portland, if we're going to build affordable housing and build it fast, we have to be able to bring it on affordably. Over by the Moda Center, there are 2 buildings that are going up on Flint Street. One is a market rate facility. It is at $300,000 per door. The building next to it is an affordable housing complex. Same size, same footprint, $700,000 per door. We have to process map and find out where are the delays, where are the complexities, where's the delay in time and cost, and we have to strip that down to build affordable housing fast, and so we can care for Portland. You mentioned it, we're at 500 units. So we're failing at keeping pace when we should be building 5,000 units per year. But we also have to recognize what's going on in our city. Do builders want to build in Portland? The complexity that we've had as far as our city goes. We've created roadblocks along the way. We have to remove those. And yes, I acknowledge Commissioner Rubio for the permitting, but we need to be faster and we have to get it done soon. I want to focus on the office to residential part of it. Our downtown core, which is the economic engine of our city, has to not only survive, but it has to thrive. We aren't doing enough to make those conversions a reality where other municipalities are. We created a $3 million SDC credit, a system development charge credit, on a building if it's retrofitted to reach earthquake code. Let's apply that $3 million to developers on any building, even if it's been upgraded. If we want to supercharge housing, we need to stop creating complexity on our goals and our requirements. If somebody has a Class A and it's already been retrofitted, let them have the funds to get developers developing. We can't create that delay. There's a $10 billion federal grant from the Biden administration that was released. That's free money.
And your time is up.
Let's go get it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Gonzalez.
You know, at a time of the complete collapse of private capital for housing in the city of Portland, we've opted for incrementalism. We need a material reset in our narrative, in our reality in the city of Portland. Just to highlight a couple of the pieces here that are going to be essential. We have to completely redeploy Prosper Portland to again be focused on both economic development and market housing. It is made too big a bet on subsidized federal housing, important, but just one piece of the equation. We already have the housing bond that's been pretty successful in generating federally subsidized housing. Where we're lacking is middle housing and market, and that has a ripple effect for all Portlanders. All Portlanders are paying too much for housing because of these failures. The 120-day state law that requires permits to be approved within that time period. The city of Portland, you have to waive your rights to that under Carmen Rubio's leadership. No longer. January 1, 2025, we're getting rid of that requirement. The city approves your permit within 120 days or it tells you why it's rejected, which doesn't happen today. We rapidly have to expand our views on SDC relief, including the possibility of crediting developers for infrastructure investments. This is the double whammy if you want to develop in downtown Portland in this crisis. Not only are you paying substantial SDC charges, but you're also paying an incredible amount of infrastructure costs, sometimes building new sidewalks. It's a double whammy. We need to give you more credits, whether you're building market housing or you're doing real TIs in the urban core. When we go talk about regulatory relief over the last year, yes, I appreciate Commissioner Rubio's leadership on that, but across the board, we didn't go far enough. We are in a crisis where we're producing a fraction of the market housing we need to. We need to peel back the last 10 to 15 years of regulatory requirements on developers until we're back at 5,000 to 6,000 units per year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question. In 2023, Multnomah County had the highest number of unsheltered homeless individuals per capita in the entire nation. Voters in the business community responded to this crisis in 2020 by supporting two local taxes, primarily on businesses and higher earners, which has produced the largest amount of local funding to solve homelessness per capita in the nation, going mostly to Multnomah County. Now, despite this, the county has struggled to even spend these funds. The city and the county have only just recently been able to unite behind a set of common goals. Please outline how you will work to reduce unsheltered homelessness and how you will approach working with Multnomah County as our next mayor. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. I founded Shelter Portland with the mission to end unsheltered homelessness in Portland. Specifically and clearly, it is the defining moment of our time. In Boston, they have 119 souls living on their street unsheltered. In Boise, they have 115 souls living unsheltered. In Philadelphia, they have 788 individuals living on their streets in a city twice the size of Portland. In Portland, 5,394. I founded Shelter Portland to bring together national leaders with local experts to find out what are they doing that we're not. We determined that most of those cities throughout the United States utilize nighttime emergency shelters to augment their system. Not to replace it, but to augment it. It's a flexible system that you can set up and lower within 90 days. The cost of doing this in Portland to care for every unsheltered soul, to provide them a safe place to sleep tonight, is less than $25 million. Our city this year on our budget is going to spend $300 million on the aggregated cost. Sweeps, $26 million, $35 million for police and firefighter overtime, putting boulders on the side of the road, not setting cornerstones for buildings. We need to be spending money for caring for our citizens and then using that to fund our government for the services that we all deserve. Now, nighttime emergency shelters are not enough on their own. I started opening day shelters. I have a facility I opened 20 weeks ago on 82nd Avenue in Nash. I'm connecting people with services that were previously housed only a few weeks ago, previously unsheltered a few weeks ago, with services, and now they have shelter, and we've started offering jobs. We have a way to care for our community, and we're going to do this next year. With your help, we have to care for our most vulnerable, and then it cares for all of us and restores livability to the city that we love.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
When we're talking about the public manifestation of homelessness, or unsheltered on the streets of Portland, this is the most acute issue for most Portlanders today. It's literally what we see on our sidewalks, on in our right-of-ways, in our parks. Really 5 parts to addressing this. 1, we absolutely have to build shelter and continue to accelerate that. The city's had success with our task force sites and safe rest villages and getting push through the long-term housing. The key here, though, is it can't just be shelter. You've got to bundle behavioral health and connection to job training and other aspects for folks leaving a really rough, wild situation on the streets of Portland. It's not overnight to housing, but your shelter option has to be doing all of the above to help them on the path towards permanent housing. Second, we have to be strong advocates for behavioral health in our county, in our state, in our region. The city is not the primary provider of behavioral health. I want to be crystal clear, but we have to be a steadfast advocate for that. In some ways, we're dead last in the country in access to addiction services and certain types of mental illness treatment. That is one of the major drivers of what we see on our streets. So we all have to continue to be advocates in that area. Third, what my colleagues up here are unwilling to talk about is the importance of enforcement. We have to set expectations for our sidewalks and parks and enforce it. That sidewalk is for children to walk to school, for your parents to be able to walk to the grocery store, for all of us to enjoy. It is not for someone to sleep and use hard drugs. And we have to be unrelenting in cleaning up our sidewalks and right-of-ways. There is no path out of the unsheltered problem without enforcement. Why? 70% of the people Portland offers shelter to say no. 70%. Now, those numbers are getting a little bit better because task sites and safe rest villages are getting a good reputation in the homeless community, but we still face a substantial number of service-resistant individuals on the streets for a lot of reasons. We have to enforce. Continue to invest in housing, and an economy that creates family wage jobs are also essential components to addressing the homeless problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rubio.
First, I absolutely want to state that I support the proposal to use the excess Metro service funds to be directed towards affordable housing development for all the reasons that we already talked about. And Commissioner, I just want to say that I agree that we need safe, clean streets for all. I also know that some of my colleagues want Portland to believe that we have to choose between just accountability, I think you called it enablement, and compassionate solutions, and I think that's a false choice. When I took office, I knew that we needed more shelters, so I changed city code to make it possible to stand up shelters and transitional housing that we needed to reduce homelessness. It was also my idea to take a delegation to Los Angeles to look at new approaches, and now we're doubling down on our shelters with on-site services with the goal to eventually permanent supportive housing. And the initial data looks good. And I believe that we are on the right track to make a huge difference if we stay the course and if we scale it up. And as your mayor, I will continue to focus on what works and not congregate shelters without services, because this is an outdated model and it has been proposed by one of my opponents. Those shelters, while they can serve a small portion of our homeless population, they represent a model that has actually the worst outcomes. And finally, we need leaders with the temperament to work together, to sit at the table and get things done. No more time for finger pointing or pontificating. That's why you need trust to hold that accountability of our other government partners. We can't waste any more time. We must focus on what works, and I intend to use the leadership of the mayor's office and with our other regional governments to get it done.
Thank you. Next question. Governor Kotek's Central City Task Force found that the city of Portland has the second highest effective income tax rate in the nation. Only 0.1% lower than the highest, which is New York, and they tax New Yorkers making $25 million or more. Portlanders begin paying this rate at $125,000 of income. The most recent data from Eco Northwest found that Multnomah County has continued to lose population, while our peer metro regions are all growing again. And the data shows that tax avoidance is one of the main reasons for outmigration, with the average income of those leaving being nearly double of those moving to Multnomah County. Recently, the Tax Foundation published an analysis that shows in the titled piece called Portland's Weirdly High Taxes, shows that the main culprit for our high taxes are novel taxes proposed by initiative and that we pass. Examples of Portland's novel taxes includes the arts tax, the clean energy tax. There are a number of others I'm sure you're familiar with. Are there reforms that you support to lower the overall tax burden on Portlanders and make Portland more competitive, especially for people who want to live here? We'll start with Commissioner Gonzalez.
Absolutely. I mean, initiatives over the last decade in our community have very much disrupted our ability to govern. I'm going to be blunt. I mean, this is a 100-year tradition in the state of Oregon, the initiative and referendum approach. It goes back to a different era in politics, but it has been incredibly disruptive to our ability to predict, to plan as electeds. With respect to the taxes that have really burdened us in recent years, we've got both the Metro tax and Multnomah County's universal pre-K. We need relief there, plain and simple. Yes, we are losing high earners. We are losing those who produce. And when we don't enforce camping bans, we welcome in those who don't produce. I mean, it is a perverse cycle we are on currently in the city of Portland. Your next mayor has to be a steadfast advocate for taxpayers in the region. We have to be competitive in attracting employers, in attracting those who generate, who produce. I mean, one of the most perverse incentives that we've created is that a lot of people keep their Portland home. They just become a resident of the beach or Palm Desert, and it's the worst possible scenario. We're literally driving away other taxes that city can collect in other levels of government. Not to put too fine a point on this, but earlier this last year, we evaluated a bond measure and levy for parks and fire. These are necessary investments at some point for our community. It polled pretty well. There was no way we could bring it to you right now. So because you're overtaxed. So not only is our tax rate driving our tax base out of the city, is actually starving other parts of government of necessary revenue that we're going to have to approach someday. We cannot drive density in the city of Portland if we don't have good parks, if we don't have a functioning fire department, and we are deferring all of those investments right now at the city because of overtaxation at Metro and at the county. Thank you.
Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you. And with all due respect to my colleague, we all know what the problem is, but what will you do about it? And regarding taxes, again, I'm the only candidate standing up here who's actually done anything on this issue. And I get it. I too have looked at the data presented by the Portland Metro Chamber. We don't have an attraction problem, we have a retention problem. And the taxes are the primary reason that people are leaving, as we all know. But it isn't just that they feel they're too high, it's that there's no longer a value proposition. And that Portlanders are feeling that they're not getting the services that they're paying for. And I've worked hard to chip at that problem and attack it. Together with the mayor, we authored the tax incentive for downtown leases to encourage retention in the central city and to spur activation. And as far as I know, we're the only city to do so. I also led the charge to expand the enterprise zone and brought to council the first ever economic impact statement requirements. to ensure that an analysis is conducted before any future council votes on city tax increases or ballot measures. That's a big deal. And as leaders, we've got to be able to pivot within our changing landscape, even when it's unexpected. And that's why I'm glad that the county chair froze the preschool for all tax escalator for a year. I think that is a step in the right direction. And why I support the discussions related to the Metro Services tax and look at how we can keep moving forward on our policy goals, but also keep people here without feeling overburdened. But more importantly, as a mayor, I will lead the entire city to deliver on the promises that we make to the people of our city when they entrust us with those tax dollars.
Mr. Wilson.
We are paying New York City taxes and we're not getting New York City services, far from it. We're overburdening our citizens, and with livability declining, we're giving people reasons to leave the most beautiful city in the world. So I voted for all three of the recent taxes: the Portland Clean Energy Fund, the SHS, the Supportive Housing Services, and the Preschool for All. But I voted for what was in the ballot measure in the voters' pamphlet. The intent was for the Portland Clean Energy Fund to bring in $40 million. It's bringing in $200 million. And now we're raiding it to backfill budgets throughout our city. We're not using it for the intent. I voted for a climate emergency bill to address our long-term existential threat. And it's being usurped now to fund mismanagement from our city. Our supportive housing services, $250 million, is what I voted for in the ballot measure in the voters' pamphlet. $437 million today. Yes, it's driving high earners out, because we've done a flip on what we expected. The Preschool for All, $119 million expected. In the highest year, $187 million. Yes, I'm thrilled that our county just deferred the tax increase. But when we look at the intent of those ballot measures, we didn't intend for it to be 5 times the amount and on large retailers. And if you look at who's left, not just the population, not just high earners, Targets, the REIs, the Walmarts, the Starbucks. Yes, it is at the same time we have a livability issue. But if we continue to tax at the rate that New York City, we deserve New York City services at the very least. But I would say we have to review these taxes and bring them back to the intent, or at least closer to the intent. We can solve all purposes if we're intentional in this process.
Question number 5. Downtown Portland has struggled to recover from the pandemic more than any other downtown in the nation. The Portland Metro Chamber, the city, Travel Portland, and Downtown Clean and Safe have collaborated to begin turning things around. July and August were the highest foot traffic months since the pandemic, with Portland outpacing its peers in year-over-year growth. Reported crime is down over 70%, according to the Portland Police Bureau. And there's a significant reduction in the prevalence of drug use and unsheltered homelessness. We are admittedly seeing things start to change. Yet, Portland's commercial building industry continues to struggle with the loss of so many downtown office workers to hybrid work, relocation, tax avoidance, as we just talked about, and of course we still have that perception of a troubled downtown. What will you do as Portland's next mayor to keep the momentum going for the recovery of downtown and all of the central city, while partnering with the private sector for the good of the overall economy? And we'll start this with Commissioner Rubio.
So again, out of all of us up here, I'm the only one that has done work specifically that has directly led efforts to revitalize our central city. I passed a tax break for businesses to sign those new leases in our central city, as I mentioned. I also mentioned that we expanded our enterprise zone. I've also overseen millions of dollars in event activation and small business repair grants that needed to go out. I've also waived SDCs and amended seismic development rules, as I mentioned, in support of office-to-housing conversions, and we still need to do more. And I've supported all of the public safety policies voted on by council that are in play right now. And yes, we do need more police, but how we also grow our police force matters. We need the right responders in every single role. And we need to bring back community policing so that we have a positive police presence and a sense of connection in all of our neighborhoods. We need to keep up all of these efforts. Plus, we need to evaluate how all of these efforts are happening, especially in downtown and especially in Old Town. Progress has been made, but not enough. We know that. And finally, I must say that the city has not done enough of cultivating arts and culture sector in our city. We're very lucky that over the years, over decades really, that so much of this has happened organically. But if we want to be a world-class city, your local government needs to do more to help create a world-class arts and arts and culture sector in the city. It's a critical part of our economy, and it's what makes Portland who we are. So as mayor, I'm very committed to building on our successes today and planning with intention and with vision of how we can take our central city to the next level. So together with successful arts sector, good business retention, and bringing more housing into the downtown core, we can revitalize our central city.
Mr. Wilson.
The solution isn't complex. If we restore cleanliness, livability, and safety to our downtown core, we will welcome an influx of jobs, investments, and families back to Portland. But as you said, Ken, just looking at where our Portland is today, we're at 30% vacancy rate, the highest in the nation, and it's climbing. I've been working with the former mayor of Boise as to why does Boise have 12% vacancy rate and ours is 3 times as high? It's a Western city, as we often say. We keep saying this is a Western endemic issue, and I say it is a Portland-specific issue. We're going to stop saying it's a West Coast issue and take care of Portland. This is our backyard, so let's care for Portlanders. Let's talk about the safety aspect. You had mentioned that it's improving, and I haven't seen that. Our arrest rate for property crime is at 5% now. We have the highest property crime rate in the nation. Ask a business to come downtown and know that if somebody walks in and walks out the door, they will not be held accountable because of it. We have this. We are shoulder to shoulder with Oakland and St. Louis. Words I thought unimaginable only a few years ago. So how do we get our city back? Well, we restore livability, and I've explained to you how we have to care for our citizens on the street and then enforce our no camping laws, our sanitation laws, and no RVs, and bring that dignity and decency back to all of us. But it's not just about attracting business to downtown, it's keeping businesses. John Blumenauer, Congressman Earl Blumenauer's son, didn't renew his lease. These are not nameless, faceless individuals. He's moving out in a couple months. Bob Werkmeister, the owner of Fuego Food Carts, 12 food carts only a few years ago, closing this month. Lisa Schroeder Mothers, a business that we all know is struggling to hang on because of livability issues, and downtown traffic is plummeting. We have to do everything we can to build that back up, and it begins with restoring cleanliness and public safety to our core, but to all 4 corners of our city as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Commissioner Gonzalez.
You know, I want to start with, I am deeply appreciative of many of the steps that Commissioner Rubio has taken in overseeing Prosper Portland, Housing Bureau, and some of the related bureaus. But, to be blunt, our economic recovery plan has been an abject failure in the city of Portland. By no objective measures are we doing well. We have pushed a lot of paper that's not leading to new jobs, that's not leading to new construction, it's not leading to more capital flowing into the city. Sorry to be blunt, but that is our reality. That is what we're dealing with today. So, what are the components? One, we do have to acknowledge that there's a structural change in the way people are working. I can mandate my direct reports are in the office every day. I do that. You know, that's one thing. Your electeds are often in the office more than many private employers because we can mandate that. They're not collective bargain represented workforce. So I can tell them you got to be in the office every day, and they are. You lead with that. But we also have to acknowledge that you're all competing for employees to convince them to come downtown 5 days a week. It's not always that easy right now. And it may be a permanent reality for all employers in the city of Portland. So we do have to change the mix downtown. We have to increase both things that attract people for their discretionary dollars in the evenings. That includes arts and sports. We cannot talk enough about bringing baseball to the city of Portland, to reestablishing the arts as an attractive piece of downtown Portland, the future of performing arts. These are all essential components of economic development to create a place that people want to be. Yes, to work, but to play. And those are the incremental dollars that we've really struggled with, that we've lost to the suburbs, that we've lost to Clark County, that we've lost to other cities, that I think if we double down on that, we can be very successful. We do have to reposition Prosper Portland, and I can talk more about that in the later questions. 1,000 police officers, reestablish neighborhood and a business watch to create an environment for safety throughout the city, including the urban core. Thank you.
All right, thank you. After a sharp spike in crime from 2021 to 2023, we have started to see crime rates go in the other direction. Vehicle thefts in particular, mainly as a result of the Auto Theft Task Force, plummeting to the lowest level since 2016. This progress has been achieved despite something that we've already mentioned here. The city of Portland having the second fewest number of sworn police officers per capita among the 50 largest cities in the nation. That means that the Portland Police Force continues to be forced to overspend on overtime, and they continue to see retirements outpace the new hires on the force. Do you support providing the Portland Police Bureau funding to bring the size of the force to at least the national per capita average? And please tell us your plan for achieving that goal and ensuring that crime rates continue to trend downward. And we start this with Mr. Wilson.
So the specific question, will we bring it up to 2 officers per 1,000 versus the 1.26 we're at right now? That's a 50% increase in a city that's impacted, and we're going to be struggling to meet our bills next year that the mayor just... I do agree we need more officers, but we got to begin by filling the 80 officer positions we already have authorized today, and we're not bringing officers to Portland. So let's look at the way we can improve efficiencies. Let's look at what our officers are doing. So in any given year, 50% of all the arrests that our officers are making are of the unsheltered. The unsheltered represent 1% of our population. If we provide basic nighttime emergency shelters, just providing somebody shelter lowers the arrest rate to 2%. So it's not just about resourcing up. When you're running a complex system, you have to look at the bottleneck and say, well, what are the inputs? And if our officers are spending that much time arresting the same person over and over again, we have to look at why. If we provide basic nighttime care, so we're helping that person out of that situation, we lower our arrest rate. I know that. I rode with the neighborhood response team 6 months ago. We arrested a fella. And he said, darn. And they looked at the record. 9 times in 3 months. This is really hurting all of us. 10 years ago, in our worst time of need, an officer would show up in a priority 1 call in 6 minutes. Today, when you are in need, an officer shows up in 24 minutes. And God forbid you have a property crime or a medium or low, because in some cases, it's 92 minutes or not at all. Yes, we need additional officers. The number, I don't know. We got to get in and do the numbers. But it's not just resourcing up. What business owner would ever do that? Just throw money at the problem without analyzing the problem. And when you reduce the input or the symptoms, you can do 2 things. Sure, add some officers, but allow our officers to get back to community policing. Because they're not just arresting our most vulnerable.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah. Simply put, we need to get to 1,000 police officers as soon as possible and should be targeting 1,200 beyond the national average. No 2 ways about it. For a long time, Portland was one of the safest major U.S. cities in the country. We are no longer one of the safest U.S. cities in the country. That means we need more police officers on the streets of Portland. Some of that's intuitive, but let's just put it in real tangible terms. Increasingly, we're seeing the private sector privatize police. You're hiring armed security guards throughout the city, increasing your cost to operate, putting us at a competitive disadvantage. What's even worse is it's not only is it necessary, but the inequity of it. East Portland can't afford that. Our working class neighborhoods can't afford privatization of police. I don't blame the business community for doing it. They have to respond to the crisis. But for all the talk of equity in our community, this is one of the areas we have failed most pronouncedly in recent years. We have abandoned working class Portland to crime, to homelessness, to behavioral health crisis in front of them. It is incredibly inequitable, and we have to change it tomorrow. Some other elements here. We abandoned some years ago both our neighborhood and business watch programs in the city of Portland for ideological reasons, like so many stupid decisions made in the city of Portland. It's for some ideological reason. We need to bring those back. That's to supplement your police force with neighborhoods and businesses being involved in their own safety and working as a team. It's a level of empowerment. I do also want to call out that the environment to recruit and attract police officers, that is an essential responsibility of your next mayor. That sets an environment where police officers know they're going to be supported. You know, I took down the face of the defund police movement in the last election. That was important in sending a message to our police officers that are on the force today, that those may consider coming to the city of Portland. We're going to stand with you. You're accountable, responsible police department, and your next mayor needs to be their champion every day, whether the DOJ, state legislature, or on the news at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Rubio, same question.
So everyone deserves to feel safe in our city, just like my colleagues up here said, no matter where you live, who you are, going to school, at your place of work, and at home. And I have led or been a part of every single plan the city has deployed, and have supported every council vote on public safety along the way. And in my first year, I passed a record amount of money to reduce gun violence. And since that time, gun violence has dropped by 28%. I've also played a pivotal role in getting the city and the police union to agree on body-worn cameras back in 2023. That's something that the police union president actually thanked me for. I also fought to stabilize Portland street response and finally stabilize it to provide emergency support services for people in crisis. And I supported and continue to support more funding for our police officers because our city has grown and changed over the last decade, and we need our public safety capacity to grow and change too. We need to right-size it for who we are today as Portland. And I'm confident in Chief Day's ability and recommendations to get us there. And in the last 2 years, we have had a record number of new recruit hires at the city of Portland, and it's something that my colleagues and I go to those swearings in, and those new recruits look like the Portland of today. And as mayor, in my first 100 days, I'll commit to taking more action to combat the epidemic of traffic fatalities, because we're not talking enough about that, and investing in safe streets, because we should all have safe, clean streets for everyone. And I will see that the city puts in place permanent public safety alert system for small businesses. So that's something many of you have advocated for, and I'll keep working with the mayor and his team to deliver that to you. We have real public safety problems that require real action, not just tough talk. And the difference between me and my opponents is that I have the relationships to get it done. We need productive and accountable partnerships and a mayor who sees the benefit of working with everyone on all sides of the issue.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. The next mayor has a really big task ahead of them. You'll be responsible for hiring the city's first city administrator, helping to shepherd in a brand new city council configuration that will have to get itself organized after the election before it begins doing its job on behalf of taxpayers. Continuing to restructure the bureaus to adopt a more service-oriented culture, rebuilding public confidence in the city's ability to deliver basic services, and so much more, some of which we talked about this morning. All of this while the city still faces an ongoing crisis of homelessness and housing, will likely have to endure budget cuts next year with declining tax revenues that we've talked about also, and continued net population loss. We're just starting to recover our tourism economy right now. There are, on the flip side, some big opportunities. Major economic development projects, Broadway Corridor, OMSI, Albina, New Albina, Rose Quarter, breaking ground on all of those projects. Crime rates are continuing to decline, although we have discussed that and how those numbers are looked at. So describe your leadership style and why you are the right person in the right time to be the next mayor during such a critical time in the city's history. And we'll start with Commissioner Gonzalez.
Well, the leadership style I'll deploy as your next mayor is very much going to be values-based. I'm going to be very specific about that. I'm a moderate, a centrist. Sometimes both extremes accuse us of not standing for something. I stand for families being able to thrive in the city of Portland. I stand for seniors being able to age in place, for entrepreneurs and employers to thrive in the city of Portland, unapologetically, without compromise. Those are the values that will drive our city forward on. Yes, we are citizens of the globe. Climate change is real. We have a responsibility there. But your local government needs to be focused on those core values and delivering services to you. More specifically, we often have a bureaucracy that is pursuing one ideological agenda after another. And it's not about you when they're pursuing those things. We need to redirect our city government to your services and values for taxes paid. That's everything from potholes to getting a prompt call back to getting permits through the system fast enough. All of the above. And that takes a leader at the top reorienting city government for those purposes. But I unapologetically also emphasize the importance of thinking big and those big projects that are going to have multiplying effect on job creation and family wage jobs that create social effervescence that attracts people into the city. So we grind away every day at the tough issues, but we also have to make the space to think big. That means, again, swinging for the fences on baseball. That means reigniting our performing arts with the future of Keller. That means creating a space that people want to come to in the city of Portland to work, play, and live. Thank you.
Commissioner Rubio.
So I'm really glad that this question came up. For me, it's the single most important question in this race, and it will define this race. For me, leadership skills in this moment of historic transition are going to define our success as a city. So ask yourself, do you want a mayor who has the proven ability to bridge divides across sectors, to break through the extremes and deliver? Or do you want a mayor who will continue to divide and be inflexible? We're going to have a very brand new council, many of whom have never served in office before. There will be a lot to figure out as they settle into their new roles. And it's important, it's imperative that we have an experienced mayor taking the lead. They will be creating the blueprint for subsequent mayors. None of that happens if we have a mayor who's always fighting with council or is not skilled in working productively with others whom they disagree with. That's why it's imperative that our next mayor has the ability to work constructively and bridge collaboratively with our new council members and with our stakeholders and the public. And I'll be frank, I'm the only candidate here who has shown time and again that I have the ability to do that and the ability to produce the policy wins. This is the single biggest difference between me and my opponents. I have the ability to work with people to get hard things done, to have a vision for what needs to get done, and when needed, to call the question. And as I've said throughout the morning, the results speak for themselves.
Mr. Wilson.
So we're going to have an enormous opportunity with this new form of government. It's going to be an enormous challenge, and it's going to bring an enormous amount of chaos. And Commissioner Gonzalez mentioned it's all about core values at that point. Where do you begin? Where do you stand? The core values at the company that I've built are quality, safety, and sustainability. You go everywhere, and my team knows what they are. Those core values have allowed Titan to be named National Innovator of the Year for the last 2 years. And how does that manifest itself in a story? In 2019, we saw our accident rate increase 400%. Everybody said it was speeding. I had a hunch it was those super cute computers in our pocket. I have a 3-state operation and we run 24 hours a day. It's complex. I knew we were at the forefront of a catastrophic accident. Somebody was going to die. The core value was safety. It's always been safety. We found a system using artificial intelligence to help our drivers make safer driving decisions. And then we did a robust outreach with our team members, not only asking the drivers to participate in that system as we developed. We decided to go live on January 1st. We did a huge outreach PowerPoints throughout the 3 states. We were intentional. We trained. We explained what was going on. And then, 7 days before implementing that new system, our driver quality manager reported to us at our senior management meeting, 50% of our drivers were going to quit. As we did with our senior executives, as you do every day, is you make decisions with complex, and you do this around your tables. And so every one of my senior managers, I asked them what did they want to do, and they all said, we have to defer. We can't implement it. It came to me, I never countermand my team. They always make the right decisions. And I held up, I said, okay, we have the potential of losing 50 drivers or saving 1 life. If our core value is truly safety, we have to lose the 50 drivers. We implemented the system on January 1st. Not a single driver left.
Please wrap.
You can understand what I'm saying in the story. Challenges with leadership is hard, but if you know your core values and base your decisions on it, you'll care for your community, and we're going to care for our city.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We're going to move on to closing statements from all of the candidates. You get 1 minute for your closing statement. Please begin with your closing statement, Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you again to the Portland Metro Chamber and to my fellow candidates. I want to leave you with this final thought in case I haven't made it abundantly clear. The status quo is completely unacceptable. We have serious work to do to turn our city around. But here's the deal. We don't have to forget who we are in order to change things. I know that when we lean into our values as Portland, we make amazing things happen. It's how we do it here. So how do we get there? Well, I can tell you what we don't need. We don't need flashy. We don't need any more drama or division. We just need accountable and competent leaders. Leaders who know how to work together, build coalitions, and with the guts to make tough choices. We need a mayor that acts urgently to get people off the street and into shelters with services, that creates and sustains good jobs for working people, and that brings back safety, brings back livability, and brings back a thriving economy. That's why my vision for Portland is to become better than its best, safer and more livable than its best, more accountable to us. I'm not a single issue candidate. I'm the candidate that's ready to act on day one, and it would be my honor to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you to the Portland Metro Chamber for this opportunity. Let's face it, my opponents had years to build a coalition and deliver results, and haven't. They've refused to follow the path of cities that have solved the crucial issues we now face. They've wasted hundreds of millions of dollars. As a result, we've lost families, jobs, small businesses, and, worst of all, lives. Look, if you like the way the city's being run, then I'm not your guy. But if you want real change, then I ask for you to vote for me. My experience is vast and relevant and will meet Portland's moment of crisis. The Portland Renaissance we all want is within our reach. Together, we will repair, restore, and revitalize the city that we love. Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I want to thank again the Chamber for hosting us today, Ken, for doing a great job as always, and my colleagues up here. I want to be crystal clear. When you elected me 2 years ago, I didn't exactly hide who I was. I didn't pretend I was something that I'm not. I was focused on families, on businesses, on a healthy, safe, beautiful city. It can be that again. And I have grinded at that every single day as a city commissioner. I will continue as your mayor. That means every day confronting the hard issues. Sometimes people are going to disagree, Sometimes they're going to set your family member's car on fire because they don't agree with your position. And you power through. We center on those core values. We center on what made this city beautiful. Of course, recognizing that 2025 is not 2005. Cities have changed. We have to adopt to that reality. We have to reposition our city, but we don't deviate from those core values to drive our city forward, that what made this city of Portland so unique and beautiful for so many years. I look forward to dialogue with you over the next few weeks in deciding your next mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the candidates who came to be a part of this forum. Please give all three candidates a round of applause. I know you'd like to hear more. I don't know if the candidates will be around for any individual questions after this forum, but we have a number of candidates for city council in the room. We have the mayoral candidates as well. So those of you who are able to stick around and have those conversations, feel free to do so. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. And we'll bring it back to Andrew Home from Portland.